Hello everyone, this is Cam Hemmons, pleasure as always. Before Trudeau and COVID, before the truckers descended on Parliament Hill and shut down the city of Ottawa in protest of vaccine and protest of mandates, the lockdowns that shut down the Great White North, before our current Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau, became arguably the most hated politician in Canada, there was Stephen Harper, a man who, according to himself, was tough on crime, tough on terror, and an adamant free market supporter. He was in charge for 9 long years. I recall him. I remember the panic that was caused when he came to power. Canada, for many decades a liberal stronghold, was shocked at the new leadership. Stephen Joseph Harper put the Conservatives on the map, on the political map, in a way that never happened before or since. He was the first and only Prime Minister to come from the Conservative Parliament of Canada. He managed, quite brilliantly, to craft a singular message, a single voice, that his entire party echoed, his voice. No one in his party could deviate from his messaging. He silenced the Conservative Party. No member could speak on any matter without his input, going so far as to bar his caucus members from speaking to the press, on the threat of expulsion from his party. And while the opposition party members spoke out individually, he let them hang themselves with their own words, their own infighting. He even managed to make a member of the opposition cross the floor and join his party. I have never seen such a thing, unprecedented in my lifetime. When Parliament was close to ejecting him in a vote of non-confidence, he shut down the Parliament and the Governor-General authorized it. She prorogued Parliament. On December 4th, 2008, the opposition Liberals, as well as the NDP, threatened to form a coalition to topple his government. The coalition also enjoyed the support of the Bloc Québécois, a separatist French-Canadian party. Stephen Harper responded by shutting down Parliament, proroguing it, declaring that the opposition had no respect for the people's vote. And even though they were the majority, the opposition faltered, and he won another election by suggesting the Bloc Québécois, a Quebec separatist party, was using this coalition as a Trojan horse to steal the votes. This argument worked. The opposition parties were the majority, and yet he won another election after this. He was a shrewd man, educated in economics, and on balance, adept at narrative. He convinced the Canadian population that this coalition would destroy their country. He was conniving, concerning, commanding, and ran his mandates like a king with his sovereign, solely. His party, a bunch of sycophantic, followed his pedantics without questioning. When Israel attacked Lebanon during that war in July 2006, 40,000 Canadians fled on boats to the Mediterranean island of Cyprus. It was the largest forced immigration of Canadians since the Second World War. And when asked what he thought of this crisis, he responded it was an even response. How callous, how unpatriotic, not an ounce of sympathy for his own citizens. Well, I guess not much has changed since then. Tough on terror was his motto, and Lebanese were terrorists. And tough on crime, he passed an omnibus bill that expanded criminalization unseen in centuries in Canada, with mandatory minimums and no judicial discretion. He supported the Iraq War while he was in opposition. When he found out 79% of Canadians were against it, he pretended to be against it too. Such was his character, chameleon. Raised in Toronto, he moved out west and became everything he thought was the opposite of his hometown. Toronto, the people's city. Suddenly he was a cowboy, a conservative. Yet he grew up in Leaside, a well-to-do and staunchly liberal stronghold, where he himself held similar beliefs. He moved to Calgary, rebranded himself. Calgary, known affectionately as Cowtown, was where he cut his political teeth and convinced Western Canadians, very successfully, that he was one of them. He convinced the Western Canadian Party and the Progressive Party to merge into one party, setting the final domino and knocking it down with his election in 2006. What can you say about a man like this? Politics is war waged with other means. his viciousness. Stephen Harper said Canada would be an energy superpower, would develop in the tar sands, an enterprise he personally described in 2006 as larger than the building of the Great Pyramids and the Great Wall of China. In his defense, he wasn't exaggerating. Tar sands were an environmental apocalypse, using high-pressured water and the largest moving machines on Earth to dig up the earth, spray with water, and separate a grease-like substance called bitumen. A grease-like substance called bitumen, not oil. Just look at the contamination left behind by this process. This was progress to Stephen Harper. He passed a deal with China, FIPA. In 2012, he revised the Canadian Environmental Assessment Act. The number of agencies that will conduct environmental reviews was reduced from 40 to 3. 3 agencies to monitor the environment. Canada is a supposed beacon of light on the world stage, home to peacekeepers. Sick Kids Hospital, a refuge for the world, where rehabilitation was preferred over criminalization. In one fell swoop, it turned on its heels. Stephen Harper changed this nation, yet where is he now? What happens to these leaders? These self-interested sellouts, these murderers, selling their nations for pennies on the dollar. Where is Obama, Trump, Bush, Harper, the Iron Lady? Where are the Saddams, the Pol Pots? Every one of them is left alone with their deeds. And when the curtains fall on their leadership and the next gullible steps in their place, when the cameras of the world move on, they remain alone with their deeds, their violations of human rights, their thefts of human property. But sometimes their cowardice can be seen. For Mr. Harper, on October 22nd, 2014, a lone gunman, a drug addict, drifter, stormed Parliament Hill, where the Canadian government conducts their official business. He managed to storm a barricade and entered the building with a shotgun. Where was Mr. Harper, you ask? Mr. Tough on Crime, Mr. Tough on Terror. He was hiding in a closet upstairs. As members of his junior staff, young men put flagpoles in the doorway and barricaded the door as gunshots rang throughout the building. The junior staff were terrified, and yet they defended him. As he hid like a child, the man was gunned down in the lobby, and after the dust was settled, the world seen what Mr. Harper was made of. He was a coward.